These are the 5 fundamental principles I have used to squat well over 700 pounds as a natural athlete. If you're new here, my name is Gavin Aiden. I am a multi-world record holder as a 93 kg powerlifter. And yes, I am a natural athlete. For those of you who don't know, I compete in the IPF, which is a drug-tested federation. I have competed on the biggest stages powerlifting has to offer: Sheffield, World Championships. I set 2 open world records, both the total and the squat, at the NAPF Championships. I say all of this to say that it might be worth listening in to learn what I have found to be some of the most important training principles that I've used to squat well over 700 pounds naturally. But that said, take everything I say with a grain of salt. All right, let's just dive right into it. So the very first training principle I want you to consider is pacing the primary. And we're gonna break that down first half and then the second half. All right, that's the order of which we're gonna go about it. So let me put it on the board here real quick. And like I said, we'll start off with pace, because pace is really important. What do I mean by pace? You can't go to the gym and try and max out every single day. Okay, stop doing that. You're gonna make me crash out. I don't want it. I don't wanna see it. You're gonna get hurt. And it's definitely not optimal to creating sustainable progress, okay? Creating progress in general. So no more maxing out. What does that mean? That means we need to give ourselves time, give our body time to adapt. Strength is specific. Strength expression is a skill. Not only do we need to give our body time to build up to the ability to produce maximum amounts of force in a given movement for a given number of reps, but we also need to give our body enough time to practice doing that. So there's a skill adaptation here, but then there's also the strength adaptation here. And that's kind of the art of powerlifting, because it's not just about strength, right? I know a lot of people who have tons of muscle who are super, super strong, but are really, really bad at 1RMs. And why? Because they don't have the skill developed just yet. It is a skill. That takes time. Allow yourself to pace your training. Don't go into the gym every single week expecting to hit a new PR. It's the wrong way to do it. Now let's talk about the second piece of this, and that is primary. Hopefully I remember how to spell this. Sometimes I get nervous on camera. Okay, pacing the primary. Why do we need to break this up into halves? The main reason is some of you may not totally understand the concept of having a primary squat day. If you are in the strength world, if you're deep into strength programming, strength training, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you're not, and you're new to this, then yeah, you're gonna need someone to break it down. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna break down, what do I mean by primary? So oftentimes when a lifter refers to their primary lifting day or their primary movement day, so let's say primary squat day, primary bench day, primary deadlift day, what they're referring to is their competition day, the day that's their heaviest, the day that's most intense for that movement. Why this matters is this all gets built into a program that gets planned out over time, X number of weeks. Usually we talk in terms of like microcycles, macrocycles, blocks, right? You'll hear like block periodization. Most blocks are about 4 weeks long. So in other words, you'll pace your training so that you're building up for 4 weeks. So week 1, you start kind of light, right? Build up. Week 4 is probably the heaviest week of that block. Then you might dip back down again. Again, if you're running 4-week blocks, they reset. You dip back down again for another week 1 of your second block, and then you're building back up. And the idea is that this builds momentum as you progress, right? Pacing. Primary comes in because you may have more than one day for your movement. So for example, squats. I squat twice a week. Actually, technically now I squat 3 times a week. Please. For the longest time, I've only squatted twice a week, and now my coach wants to throw in a 3rd squat day, and I want to fucking shoot myself. No, I'm sure it'll pay off. It's basically a primer, but that's for another video. So, long story short, you have 2 squat days, or I have 2 squat days, all right? Let's say I have 2 squat days. One day is a secondary, one day is a primary. That's all we mean, okay? One day is the main focus. One day is gonna be the heaviest, is gonna be the competition variant, meaning what we would do if we were on the platform performing the squat, right? You're not gonna perform a pause squat or a tempo squat on the platform, right? You're gonna perform, let's say your low bar, normal competition squat. That's your primary squat. So pace the primary. Naturally, you'd wanna pace everything, but you get the gist. Okay, enough talking, let's get to number 2. Principle number 2, accessories matter. A lot of powerlifters neglect their accessories, although I think that there's a shift happening in the universe, and that's changing, which is fucking awesome. Accessories matter. If you aren't being intentional about your accessories, you're leaving a lot of food on the table, okay? You need to make sure that you are being intentional about your accessories. Not just the selection of them, which we're gonna talk about in a second, but also the execution of them. Actually work hard, like actually train hard, actually push your accessories. Yeah, there's a time and place for it. Yes, I understand that if you're close to meet, whatever, you might wanna pull them back. Maybe you use your accessory volume and intensity as a taper mechanism, like you use that as a way to create better performances and result. That's something we could talk about later. But for all intents and purposes, just assume be very, very intentional about how you choose your accessories. Be very intentional about the execution of your accessories. Don't just let them fall to the wayside and pretend like they don't matter, because they really, really do. Accessories really, really matter. So choose accessories that are specific and that address your weak points. We're gonna put this on the board. So we said accessories, right? And again, for those of you who are not used to powerlifting training lingo, when we say accessories, we just mean secondary exercises. Any exercise you would do that is an accessory to your main movement, that is supplemental to your main movement. For a powerlifter, your back squat is going to be the main movement, so your accessories might be anything that you might do after that that's not a back squat, right? Okay, so we said specific, very important. And then we said weak points, also very important. Excuse my penmanship. So specific, like I said earlier in the video, strength is specific. If you want to get strong in something, you have to choose what that something is, okay? You can't just be strong at everything all of the time, especially if you want to be extraordinarily elite level strength, okay? So what does that mean? Choose accessories that are close to the main movement, whether it be through pattern or the muscle groups that it targets, whatever. For example, my favorite specific accessory movement for squats is going to be the Rogue Rhino belt squat. It allows me to use tons and tons of load, so expose my lower body to lots of heavy weight without loading my spine. And it's also great because it gives me the exact pattern I would have if I were squatting. So to me, it checks all the boxes. I like the movement. I enjoy doing the movement. It's safe. And in addition, I can actually really build a lot of muscle with it too. So there's a lot of different benefits to using that type of machine. There are other different types of belt squats, but you get the point. That's my personal favorite. It is very specific. It is literally the squat, except instead of loading your back, you've got a belt around your hips. Okay, very, very important. To address your weak points, my suggestion is to do a general analysis of where you feel like you're hitting walls during the movement. So for example, if you hit a wall in the hole, if you hit a wall halfway up, maybe you find you really struggle with controlling the descent. These are little things that you can use, or little moments during the movement that you can use to indicate weak points. Just go address them. If you struggle with the lockout of a bench press, chances are you need stronger triceps. If you struggle off the chest, chances are you need stronger pecs. Okay, so you get the idea. Address weak points. One of my favorite exercises, my coach doesn't like this, but one of my favorite exercises to address my own weak points is a barbell Bulgarian split squat. These are very difficult to load, but they're really, really special because not only do they force me to work with one leg at a time, which I never really do, obviously, when my main movement is a back squat, but they require a lot of strength and a lot of skill, a lot of coordination, which is exactly what I would expect from the main movement in a back squat. I find myself really building lots of adductor, really building lots of quad, and even hamstring and glute when I'm in that stretched position at the bottom of the split squat. Okay, so that would just be an example for myself. But when it comes to accessories, again, choose accessories that are specific and that address your weak points. Training principle number 3, fundamental training principle number 3, learn your leverages. And I'm gonna break that down in a moment, but I'm actually gonna write a different word on the board for you guys, because when I say learn your leverages, what I'm really talking about, number 3, is take a wild guess before it's fully written. Take your guess, take your guess. Boom, 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 and we're done. Technique. Learn your leverages, AKA get your technique right. The reason why I'm wording it as learn your leverages is because one of the things that took me a while to learn and grasp is that A, your technique is always evolving, your technique is always changing, but B, what works for others may not work for you. And a lot of that stems from the fact that you have unique limb lengths and leverages that create the type of technique you'd have to use. Okay, so yes, there are fundamental and universal principles when it comes to technique, especially for the major compound movements, back squat, barbell bench, and deadlift. But there are going to be different tweaks you're going to make as a result of your leverages. Leverages that, again, are unique to you. So take the time to learn them. Just because you see your favorite lifter doing something doesn't mean that that's what you should do. Okay, now, if you want a deep dive into squat technique, and again, this is all stuff that I have studied profusely because it's what it's taken to be able to squat world records, especially as a natural lifter. If you want an in-depth deep dive, I have a massive video on this. It's considered like a video resource in my coaching app. Innocent plug here. If you'd like to check it out, you would have to subscribe, but I highly recommend it because we've got multiple video resources there, multiple technique videos. We're constantly adding content every single month. Obviously, there's other programs in there as well. I think as of right now, we've got at least 10 programs there to choose from. You get the gist. But I've got deep dive technique videos of everything you need to know when it comes to the squat in that app. So if you want that, check that out. For all intents and purposes, in this video, just know technique matters. Constantly be trying to tweak your technique. Okay, yes, there are universal principles, but you will have to maximize your leverages if you want to be as strong as possible in the back squat. And technique really, really does matter. Okay, so take your time to learn. The last thing I'll say here, and this kind of combines with that very first training principle we talked about, pacing the primary. One of the reasons why we create that pacing is because it takes time for the skill to develop. And again, you need exposure over time. Think about it as like shooting a free throw. To me, how hard could it be to shoot a free throw, right? You have the ball, you jump up, you extend your arms, boom, ball goes in the net, done. I know it's harder than that, right? But that's how you think about it conceptually. People say the same thing about squats. They say, well, you're literally just, you have a bar on your back, you go down and you come back up. Yeah, okay. Good luck doing that with 100%, 105%, or 110% of your maximum, meaning the load is so fucking heavy that your body is doing everything in its power to resist it. Not only resist it, but be strong enough to take it all the way back down, deep enough for the IPF judges to give it 3 white lights, good luck, and then bring it all the way back up. Right? That's how strong you have to be. That's a skill. It's a skill to be able to express maximum strength under maximum loads. You have to practice that skill. Learn your leverages, technique matters. So the fourth fundamental training principle, this isn't as fundamental, but I wanna be spicy and controversial and just, be unique and different. So I'm gonna mention this. I'm not the only person who does this. Is it super fundamental? No, but it is fundamental to me, and it's something that I think not a lot of powerlifters do, maybe not a lot of people do in general, and I just think it's really, really important, and it kind of bleeds into our fifth training principle. So that's why it's fundamental, but could this be replaced with something else? Yes, definitely, but for now, we're gonna stick to this. What is it? The fourth fundamental training principle. Numero 4. Are you ready for this? I wrote this in lowercase. All the other ones were in uppercase. My OCD's gonna fucking kill me. You know what? We'll leave it. Fine. Embrace adversity. All right. Get your steps in. Again, I know what you're thinking. Who gives a shit? I don't need to get my steps in. I'm a powerlifter. I don't care about my health and about walking. Who wants to walk? Shut the fuck up and just listen to me. Get on a treadmill, set it on a pretty high incline, doesn't need to be the highest incline, set it on a pretty high incline, get up to a pretty brisk walking pace. You just wanna enter like a zone 2. Something that's like gets you sweating, a little bit out of breath, but you could hold a conversation. If you had a call, they'd know that you're a fat fuck, but you'd still be able to maintain the conversation. That's what you want, okay? And you don't wanna hold on to anything, you don't wanna touch anything, you just want boom, 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 40 minutes. Do you have to do it every single day? No. I do it every single day, or I try to. My suggestion, however, is to get 20 to 40 minutes in on the days before your leg session, before your squat sessions, and deadlifts in my opinion, but definitely before your squat sessions. Why do this? Couple reasons. Number 1, it'll loosen you up. And I know that sounds weird. I know that sounds kind of like voodoo, but it's the truth. It really will loosen you up, especially if you live a relatively sedentary lifestyle. For example, for myself, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Yes, I have multiple businesses that I run and I operate. And yes, I compete, so I consider my training a freaking part-time job. Honestly, at this point, it borderlines on full-time. But even then, I'm still pretty sedentary. Most of the work that I do I do from my laptop. Most of the calls I take, I do sitting down. So for me, it's really important to get more steps in, and I constantly find myself in a sitting position. My muscle is always tight, especially because of the nature of my training. It really, really helps me to get cardio in, not just to keep my weight in check, not just to feel healthy, but getting in more steps statistically has been shown to be massive, have massive positive benefits for your health. But it also really does just loosen you up. It helps you feel better going into your squat sessions. So I highly, highly suggest, doesn't need to be anything aggressive, but you just do 20 to 40 minutes walking. Now, the other benefit to this is you can utilize that time to read a book. I like to read. I'm a big fan of like the fantasy, dark fantasy genre, fiction genre. So I use that time, 40 minutes, to just read. You can listen to podcasts, you can watch YouTube videos, you can talk to your girlfriend, tell your ex how much you miss her. I don't care, whatever you want to do, you can occupy yourself, okay? The point is you can utilize that time to be with yourself, to motivate yourself maybe, to iron out your tasks, to think about your training. It's just a time for you to be by yourself doing the work, and it's not so intense that you have to be focused on it. Instead, you can have your mind be elsewhere as you do the work. The other benefit to it is that it's great for your mind. It's great for your mindset. And this leads us right into the fifth training principle. In my opinion, probably the most important training principle, the most fundamental training principle that took me the most amount of effort to create, to discover, to sharpen. Mindset. Mindset is absolutely everything, especially when it comes to maximizing your strength potential in the back squat. Of all movements, mindset is so critical, the most critical, in my opinion. Let's put this on the board. Mindset. Boom, underline with a period. Okay, so there's a couple things to talk about when it comes to mindset. And a lot of this is you're just gonna have to discover your unique approach to training and to these maximal lifts on your own. And I'm not saying that to be a dick. I'm not saying that, to say like, well, I have my way and I'm not telling you. That's not it. I'm not trying to gatekeep that. It's a journey you have to go on alone, because in that journey, you're building yourself. You have to carve yourself, cultivate yourself. Only you know you. Only you know what makes you tick. That's not for anyone else to know. It's a very intimate experience. So I'm gonna give you some of the things that I think about, some of the things I recommend, but again, this is something you are going to have to discover and encounter on your own. Okay, so a couple things that I think about when going for maximum lifts, stuff that I know is going to be heavy, stuff that I know could break me, could crush me, stuff that I know no human has ever done before, and I've been in those positions multiple times. The very first thing is actually from Yoda: do or do not, there is no try. Simple, super simple, but it's so powerful because it's so true. There's no trying. Either you're going to do it or you're not. Either you are all in or you aren't. You don't give yourself the opportunity to hesitate. Period. You burned your ships, you're all in. That's it. Do or do not, there is no try. I mean, I literally think about that as I'm going into the lift, and then I cut the space. I don't even allow myself the opportunity to second guess, to think, oh man, what if I don't hit that? What if I don't? None of that. It's all gone. Do or do not, there is no try. And I'm here and I'm fucking doing it. So we're all in. Let's just get it done. There is no in between. There's no failing. Not possible. Because I've chosen to do it. So now it will get done. Period. The next thing is actually something that I heard from Dave Tate, who I believe is the owner of Elite FTS. And I heard it on a podcast or like a YouTube video years ago, back when I was in college. I'm 26 now. And I think I was maybe 21. It was back in 2019 when I first started my journey in powerlifting. Maybe I wasn't 21, maybe I was 20, whatever, who cares? Anyway, in it, the title of the video was Advice to a College Kid or something like that, right? He basically recounts this story when he was going for like a 900-pound squat or something crazy. And Louis, the coach, their head coach or the owner of Westside Barbell at the time, Louis says, he comes up to me and he says, listen, man, it's gonna feel heavy. And Dave says, no shit. No shit, it's gonna feel heavy. It's 900 pounds. Like, yes, obviously. He's like, no, you're not fucking listening to me. It's going to feel heavy. But just because it's heavy doesn't mean you can't do it. So Dave says, all right, I get it. He goes out, unloads it. Shit feels like the heaviest thing he's ever had on his back. You wanna know why? Because it was the heaviest thing he's ever had on his back. He walks it out. He says it was so fucking heavy. I mean, really, just immense pressure on his back. Didn't even think it was possible to have something this heavy on his back. He gets set, braces, squats down, comes back up like it was nothing. It was easy. Re-racks it, he gets the squat. Moral of the story was, It's going to feel heavy, but just because it's heavy doesn't mean you can't do it. That's a fact for life, man. That is so true. I promise you, it will feel heavy. Whether it's the circumstance, the pressure, the audience, the jury, the weight itself, your own demons and thoughts, the weight will feel heavy. That's what you signed up for. But just because it's heavy doesn't mean you can't do it, and that's the truth, guys. Here's a nice little snippet just to kind of wrap up this one little segment. At NAPFs, I had set the world record squat. Carlos had taken it back. I set it at Sheffield. Carlos took it back at Open Worlds. And then I went to go set a new squat world record, went to crush the record again at NAPF. So I take 751 on my second attempt. I miss it on depth. I have to take it again. Now, I was off that day. My squats just weren't showing up. My recomp kind of got fucked up. Too much sodium, not enough fluids. It was too concentrated, I think. And long story short, wasn't feeling like myself. My squat strength was just, my legs weren't under me. I noticed it as soon as I took my opener that my legs weren't under me. That second attempt with 751 was hard. I knew going into my third, it was going to be a fucking dogfight. And it was. It was. It was probably the hardest squat of my life. Such a grind. Such a grind. I knew going into it, this is going to be brutal. I am going to have to fight with every ounce of my being and then some to get this up, let alone to hit depth and make sure we do it to competition standard. But fuck it, do or do not. There is no try. We've burned our ships. We've gone all in. We are here for a fucking reason. I have faith. I trust. I believe. And no matter what the outcome is, it doesn't matter because fuck the outcome. It's about me giving my all. That's honor. That's where my pride exists. My pride doesn't exist in getting the squat world record. My pride exists in giving every fucking ounce of myself to get the squat world record. That's what it's about. Just because it was heavy didn't mean I couldn't do it. It was heavy on my fucking back when I unracked it. It was heavy on my back. I was grinding up and I'm shaking, I'm out of position, and we get it. Just because it's heavy doesn't mean you can't do it. All right, so those are the two mindset principles I'm gonna give you. Yes, there's a plethora of mindset things that I could give you that I could impart onto you. But like I said, this is a journey for yourself, and a lot of the mindset stuff that I wanna talk about will be reserved for the coaching app. But actually, that said, here's another innocent plug. If you guys would like to read a training mindset ebook I wrote back before I even won my junior world title in Sweden, this was like before I flew out, I finished writing this and released it, which is really surreal. I wrote a training mindset ebook and I reread it the other day and I was amazed at how much of it is still true to today. If you'd like a free copy of that, just let me know. Let me know in the comments, DM me. I will personally send it to you. I'll email it to you. I've got it as like a digital file. I have no problem sending it to you. Now, the very last thing, I know this was a long segment, but the very last thing I'm gonna talk about when it comes to mindset, actual application. Develop your mindset. So literally, what are you gonna think about? What music are you gonna listen to? How are you going to approach the bar? Create a habit, create a ritual, and that's how you fucking do it. You get on, you turn your shit up, dude. This is not some bullshit like, yeah, I don't really care what happens. That's not, save that for the losers, man. That's up to them. But if you want to be a winner, and again, it has nothing to do with the outcome, it has to do with the effort. If you want to be a winner, you approach that shit like a winner. Approach that shit like a champion. You are taking it seriously. You are on. You are in it. And that's why I said it's going to take time to develop your own mindset. Develop that ritual. Okay, have that so you can lean on that when it matters most. Don't allow the weight to intimidate you. It's just a barbell, and it's got some fucking plates on it. Who gives a fuck? Fucking unrack it, lift it, done. Do or do not, there is no try, man. Who gives a shit? Like, fuck it, dude. Go all in. You might as well. Okay, so don't let that intimidate you. Take it all the way. That's why pacing the primary really, really matters, right? Because you're slowly building that up. Not only are you building the strength and building the skill, you're building the confidence, okay? Now, when it comes to mindset, you've got your ritual, you've got all this stuff figured out. You know exactly what you're gonna think about. You know the song you're gonna play, all of that stuff. The last thing I want you to think about is patience. Patience. And most people are a little bit shocked when I say this and why this, why would patience be important when it comes to mindset? Because it's a state of mind. Peace is a state of being. It's a state of mind. You need to be not relaxed, patient, in control, a controlled rage. I like to think about the squat and the way that I approach really any lift, the way like a sniper is. There's a lot of power, but it's precise. It's very precise, very accurate, and it takes a very, very precise and at peace individual who has his breathing or her breathing under control, their finger under control, to be precise and channel that energy and channel that power. That's how you have to be with the squat. Be smooth, be controlled, be patient. Take your time. Don't let the weight control you. You control it. All right, guys, that's the 5th fundamental training principle. That's everything I have for you for today's video. If you guys like this stuff, please, please, please let us know. Subscribe. A lot of this stuff, man, we just want to create value. I want to create value and I want to bridge the gap. Right now, we've got educators in the space. We've got elite athletes in the space. Nobody is bridging the gap and coming to you with education from the perspective of an elite athlete. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. And it's also kind of a way for me to document my journey in the process because I'm still on my way to the top, still building myself up. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you next time.